So guys, we presented the problem and we also presented the solution, so it wasn't just a dark video. So me and Mike were just having a conversation about how the modern dating world looks a lot different than it did 20, 30 years ago. And we weren't around 20, 30 years ago, but a lot of men naturally know these things by the way they're acting and the results they're getting in the modern world. And yeah, we want to come in here and just discuss a little bit of our observation.
One thing I noticed is that guys who are the older generations, even like 35, 40 plus, who realize how dating is nowadays with hypergamy, insane standards, male sexlessness and virginity skyrocketing, and they say just how different it was back then. Like, you didn't need to be all that to be successful with women. Like dudes, 70s, 80s, you were able to get girlfriends, hook up with girls. Like dudes who were, even if you were short, not the best looking, you were still able to get results. And I think that's the biggest change that we see nowadays is that you cannot be average,
right,
whatsoever. So it's important for guys to understand this. And now in Gen Z, I feel like people are naturally understanding it more
because of the results. Because of the results, and it's like, of course, the biggest reasons is internet.
Yeah.
Right. If women have access to higher quality men, right, in abundance, and their environment means that their environment is a lot more abundant with higher quality men, then they're going to, see the average guy in their environment and realize, hold on, he's not as high quality as all these guys I see online, right, who they have immediate access to with dating apps, and that average guy is going to experience the effects of that. Right?
100%. Dating apps, social media in general, definitely the worst aspect contributing to it.
Right.
Number one aspect contributing to it. Just because, like you said, back then, it was like she had 10 guys in her social circle,
right,
and she would choose from those guys. And it's like, the third, fourth best guy in there, a lot of times would still be able to get girls. Whereas nowadays, even maybe the best guy in the social circle, when she go on a dating app and get 20 guys in like an hour that are better than him, it's
right,
like the competition is just insane, artificially inflated. So it's harder nowadays. But for those who want to put in the work, the information is out there,
right,
to get. And that's what we were discussing before. Was we were kind of debating like, there's an easier access to information now,
right,
that allows you to transform more than you'd be able to transform back then. The transformation, right, you can reach now is more than it was back then. However, the competition
is also higher, and
the standards are also much higher. And I would say that has risen more than this, simply because male sexism is on the rise.
Right.
Right. If they rose proportionally, it would be probably still equal. But hypergamy is increasing at a astounding rate. That to even like stay there, you have to maximize yourself to the max.
It's a combination of the I think the hypergamy setting in more, and also men being capable of and transforming more means more men are going to transform. However, like you said, the level of men transforming is not as high as the rate of hypergamy is increasing, right? And so it's what Mike's saying also is that it's easier to. We were debating whether it's easier to get to the top 10% and satisfy a high quality woman's hypergamy. It's not necessarily easier, but if you are relentless with the amount of work you put in, especially your genetic starting point, you are more capable, right? With things, you include female dating nature, which is essential if you're not starting off as like a Chad. You have, PEDs if you're genetically, not gifted. You have all the information on how to get a great physique. You have sexual mastery, right? And you have also coaches online who, just depending if it's dating apps, if it's just self-development, if it's PEDs, whatever it may be, if you put in the effort, you have the resources to where, hey, I can get to the point where I can satisfy a woman who I'm attracted to, her hypergamy. And that's the end goal for a man is, okay, maybe you don't start off with the best genetic starting point, but if I can find a woman I'm attracted to who I also satisfy her hypergamy, meaning she's happy to be with me, that could be a high quality life right there, and a high quality dating life.
For sure, and it's you either satisfy her hypergamy or you should just stay single.
Yes,
that's the bottom line.
Yes.
At this point, and I think men are waking up to this too. It's going to be interesting to see how Gen Z, when they get to marriage age, what happens. When women kind of like get to the age where they are no longer, this generation, when they get to the age where they're no longer able to participate in hookup culture as much.
Yeah.
With the guys who satisfy their hypergamy, what they're going to do. Because the other thing too is a lot of women have been lied to, saying that their career will fulfill them 100%. They don't need no man, and also that the life they have now in their 20s of unlimited validation, abundance of men, attention, even for the average girl, is going to last. That party's going to last a long time. A lot of women instinctively understand this stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of women have also been drank the Kool-Aid and been fed these lies. So it's going to be rough, because at the same time, those women in the past, what they would do is they would realize that they cannot compete no longer in the sexual marketplace in their 30s, and they can't compete for the same top percentage of guys as the girls who were in their younger, in their 20s anymore. Even amongst the top guys in their 30s, women, they start to realize that. And so then what they do is they settle down. Okay, I also want to have kids. They have the biological clock kicking in.
Right.
I'm going to have kids with someone. Let me find the best guy I can. I'm not going to find a guy who actually satisfies my hypergamy, but I want kids.
Right.
I'm sick of having this for myself the whole time. And so I'm just going to settle down with the guy who I'm not really attracted to, who at least has a good job. And I can have children, maybe be a stay-at-home mom. That's going to be less likely nowadays because of inflation and stuff. But, and so a lot of women would opt for that. But now, because of Gen Z men woke up to this, like black pill, red pill is kind of becoming mainstream at this point. Those men are not going to be there ready to save them at the end, because they realize that this is not actually love.
Right.
They're using them for their resources and things that they have. And they realize the scam that is legal marriage, giving women all the power in the relationship for no benefit to the man. And so it's going to be interesting to see when this generation woman gets to that age, what happens. It's not going to be pretty.
No, it's not.
I would say. Yeah.
And it's the other hard part, because that's the aspect, okay, I'm going to settle for, a lesser man who doesn't satisfy my hypergamy. But the problem is with women having more options, right, higher status options, is that, okay, now the higher quality men, like the men that satisfy almost all women's hypergamy, they have more options than ever, right? And so they're going to be much less likely to settle down as well, right, which makes it so find a woman to find a man who satisfies her hypergamy, right, a high quality woman, is going to be much more difficult for her to lock him down, right? And so exclusively. And so women are left with the option of best case scenario, okay, I get a man who's willing to commit to me, who's Chad, for lack of a better term, right? Other option is, like Mike said, I settle down with a beta for security, right?
There's more options though too.
I know, and I'm saying that the other option too is also you can share a higher quality man, or you can go the masculine route and
get a cat and dog.
Get a cat and dog. Be in corporate world, right?
Yeah.
And the option that's getting slimmer and slimmer for women is going to be to settle down with a man who satisfies her hypergamy, right?
100%. And also because men are waking up, men are just gonna go their own way. Men are they're realizing that marriage is a scam.
Right.
That these guys, in the past it was like all of a sudden dudes turn 30, and I was like, wow, dating's so easy now. Yeah, it's because these women who rejected you when they were at their peak now are declining, and they need to find someone to provide for them.
But I also think that the number of men who are aware of this, I mean, everyone knows to an extent, right? It gets from all the way from the level from a woman who's very intelligent, very emotionally intelligent, able to manipulate the man all the way through, to a woman who, it's very obvious her intentions. But the level of men who know about this stuff is, it's increasing, but it's also, I say, kind of sad, the level of education on this stuff. So
Gen Z, I'd say it's exponentially increasing.
And Gen Z, yeah, you're right.
I'm talking about our generation.
You're right. Gen Z has increased. I'm thinking more of like 26 up. There's a level of intelligence to where you're fully red pill and you can see this stuff for what it is, right? And you're open about it with your woman. But there's also a lot of women naturally know this stuff. I would say more women than men. And even having somewhat knowledge on this stuff, women can very easily emotionally manipulate men, especially if a man does not have abundance. If a man does not have an abundance, the way he will be able to be manipulated is pretty easily and pretty extreme. But if you naturally show abundance, number one, the woman will respect you more, right? You will actually the relationship will be kind of naturally in the dynamic you want, and she won't feel the need to be like, hey, I want to take this guy's money, I want to settle down just for security. She'll be actually sexually attracted to you, right? So if you don't have abundance in the sense of you don't have options, it's going to be very rare that you satisfy a woman's hypergamy, which is not going to be a relationship you're going to probably want to get into.
100%. You're definitely not going to want to be in that relationship. You would be happier alone, most likely, than being in that. Now, some guys who get in those relationships and they get divorced, in the end, they're happy that they have kids. I would say very few people regret having kids.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe like when they're in it, that their happiness is lower.
Right.
I would say like when you have kids, your happiness probably drops a bit. As a man, just because your freedom is so restricted, and freedom is so essential to man's happiness. But I would say in the end, a lot of these guys are like, yeah, like I screwed my wife, she was a blah blah blah, but I'm glad that I had my kids. That's what I see a lot. So that's one thing in there too. And then the other question is, in this dynamic, like, what is the best route to have children in, considering these things? And the sad part is that men and women's biological strategies are designed differently.
Right.
They're designed in opposition of each other.
Right.
There's no dating culture or system that exists. It is impossible for it to exist the way that humans have been designed, where everyone is happy.
Or even a majority, I would say.
100%. It is solely designed to pass the best genes materially onto the next generation. That is the sole purpose of our biological design. If you go on the subreddit Red Pill Women, there is one of the main rules they have. Red Pill Women are women who are fully understand this stuff, like they understand all the science, psychology behind dating.
Right.
Men and women, intersexual dating dynamics, etc. One of their main rules is to avoid dating red pill men. So basically what they say is date men for your own success, date men who have no idea what's going on in the world.
Right.
With these dating dynamics. And the reason that is because men and women have opposing biological strategies.
Right.
And in the end, a man who satisfies a woman's hypergamy is going to have more leverage than that woman.
Right.
The average woman has way more power over the average man, and over men who do not satisfy her hypergamy, and that's the vast majority of men.
Right.
But the small percentage of men who do satisfy women's hypergamy, they have more power than women.
Right.
So it's like women want the goal of red pill women is to get a guy like that who satisfies women's hypergamy, but is blue pilled, so doesn't understand how to use his leverage, and thus submits to the woman's biological imperative and her reproductive strategy.
Right.
Her friend.
And the problem with the man who satisfies most women's hypergamy is that his biological desires are not being met as well, right? So there's an aspect of happiness or fulfillment in the relationship not being fully fulfilled. Now I would say the desire for variety not fulfilling that desire isn't as destructive as a lot of other desires not being met, like not having a woman in general is a lot more destructive than not having multiple women.
I would say it's women not having their hypergamy satisfied is more destructive to their happiness than a man not having his variety satisfied. Like you're not going to be as happy as you could be if you don't have your variety satisfied, just in like a baseline sense as a man.
Right.
But you can still be like pretty content.
Yeah.
But if a woman doesn't have her hypergamy satisfied, she's really not going to be happy.
Yeah. Neither will you be then if she's not. Does the red pill woman know there's always the option of sharing a high quality man, right? But that is usually not going to be as satisfying as being able to lock down a man who satisfies her hypergamy who is blue pilled, right? That's their ideal thing because that means she feels satisfied with him and she knows that she'll be able to keep him around, right? He won't have the leverage. However, some women end up saying, you know what, I would rather go the route of sharing a high quality man. And a lot of women are going to be going that route nowadays.
And in the future, it's going to be massively increased.
Right.
Where the order, what it is women's number one ideal is they get ultimate monogamy from a guy who satisfies their hypergamy. And then after that, you have like two camps. Some women would be okay sharing that guy, and then someone would rather just be single. Right. That would be the second option. The worst option is going to be saddled up to a guy who does not satisfy her hypergamy. Right. So what feminism was, the main reason they pushed feminism, and the main reason women were unhappy before they wanted feminism, was they wanted to be able to achieve the option that is above this option of being saddled with a beta, which in enforced monogamy, in the 40s, 50s, like back in the day, they couldn't work on their own. They had to have a man they had to be married pretty much, otherwise you were screwed. And most guys, even back then, it was easier for a guy to satisfy a woman's hypergamy than it is now. Standards weren't as high, but still, many women were not satisfied and unhappy, and they had to stay with the guy. They couldn't leave, so they fought for the right to work. Which all of this, by the way, I'm for. And so they could have the option that is higher, which is rather being single than being with a guy that doesn't satisfy their hypergamy. So, being single and sharing a guy seeing a guy once a week who they know is seeing other girls as well. They would rather have that in pretty much every case, unless a woman is extremely insecure and needs. This is the only case where she'll rather stay with a guy who's monogamous. Is they're extremely insecure. They don't want to compete at all with other women because they're extremely insecure. But that's not the majority, I would say.
I agree. And so we kind of set the tone for what the dating market looks like nowadays, right? And okay, what do I do about it? Well, if you're an average man, the simple thing is, okay, I have to optimize all aspects of myself, right? And really, what I would do if I'm trying to up my SMV, sexual market value, is optimize myself mentally, physically, sexually, spiritually, and then get really good socially, right? So putting yourself out in social situations, etc. Now, as far as committing to a woman, like I said before, you want to have abundance before you commit to a woman, right? Because if you have abundance, you can naturally exude these qualities that will make a woman, despite your looks, despite your money, right? If you exude a certain energy and act a certain way that represents abundance, she will feel like her hypergamy is satisfied a lot of the times, right? That's one of the biggest things. And so I would just not be rushing into a relationship. I would say, hey, let me have a phase of my life where I'm monk mode, right? I'm monk mode right now. I'm very happy in my monk mode phase because I could go out and get women I find attractive right now, but I would rather up my finances, keep upping my SMV to the point where I have complete full abundance. Like I'm not gonna lie, my abundance right now isn't as high as it will be in 5 years, and I would rather put in the work now and have effortless abundance in the future than have abundance I have to work for pretty hard right now, right? And so that's what I would say is you just do not want to get into a relationship until you have abundance.
For sure, you need pre-select. So the number one thing that's going to satisfy women's hypergamy is you being pre-selected, by far. Pre-selection, if you guys have seen my other videos on this channel, I talk about pre-selection a lot. It is the number one most attractive thing about a guy over anything else. Money, looks, physique, height, confidence. All those things are signs of pre-selection. Right. She's a guy who's confident. She's a guy who looks good. Right. She's a guy with money. Oh, maybe he's pre-selected. I need to go talk to him to find out. Right. That's why I need to understand the game. And this process is going from not abundance to abundance. You'll go through a period where you're getting better. Okay, now you look like a guy who may be pre-selected. Right. And you need to understand game, how to communicate with women, how to communicate that you are pre-selected, even if you're not. Exactly. I went through a period where I was in monk mode and I was single, but now I started to look like I was more pre-selected. So I went from no shooting signals at all, women rejecting me, to okay, I'm in monk mode, grinding the method, and now I start to look good to the point where women think, oh, maybe he's pre-selected. Now they're not consciously thinking this. Right? This is all subconscious. They're not thinking, ooh, like he looks like he's a pre-selected man. Right? No, they just think that he's just biologically attractive. But you have to also confirm it. Right. They have a sense for it, and they need a confirmation that you are who you seem like you are. Right. So that's through shit tests, right? Testing your frame, testing your abundance, that they try to figure out. Basically, does this guy have other girls or other options? Right. Because there's been times where I had girls who had given me insane shooting signals. Watch the video. I talk about the number one way to overcome social anxiety, and girls give me shooting signals insanely, but this was like the first girl I approached after my transformation. And so even though I was confident in myself, all of a sudden I went up to her and I was nervous in the scenario because I was so not used to approaching girls, even though I was fully confident in myself. And she lost all traction for me because I showed signs of insecurity. I was just flustered, I was like nervous and anxious, and like she was like, oh, like this guy's getting all nervous coming up and talking to me. Like he definitely doesn't have other girls. Exactly. Attraction, gone. Right. All attraction lost completely out the window. So number one most important thing is pre-selection, which is other girls wanting you, and the reason you have that before you get into a relationship is because it gives you leverage. Right? It gives you leverage. With me, it's like if my girl breaks up with me or she cheats on me, it's like I'd be like, I feel betrayed. I definitely feel upset, and pissed, but like I would get over it, like because I have other options. Right. So it's like she knows that. So because I have that mindset, you display this in micro ways throughout all your interactions with her. Right. Many different types of ways. Even going out and her seeing other girls also giving you shooting signals helps a ton too. Like even with my girl, we went to a concert last night and she's like, oh, I like going out with you because I see like other girls like look at you like, and I'm like, yeah, like, you forget just being home alone with me, and then you're kind of like, oh, Michael's just like lame, and then you go out and you see, oh, actually other girls like him too. Okay, yeah, he's satisfied my hypergamy. So that's something too. You need to like, take your girl out if you are pre-selected. But guys, there's a lot of work you gotta get to this point. Right, this was like years of self-improvement, grinding method that took me here. The good thing is though, 100%, any guy with average genetics, right? Everyone has a genetic limit. I would say any guy with average genetics, so you're like the average height, and there's exceptions here too, but I'm saying this is a guarantee. Any guy with average genetics, like height and looks, I would say, so your genetic base, with the method, if you do it all the way to the full, to the max, can get to the point where you satisfy women's hypergamy who you view as attractive.
Right.
Can get to that point where they can have a good relationship in that way. So, take an average guy, he's maxed out physique. Let's say he even gets on test, his physique's insane.
Right.
Fully understands female nature. Fully confident, fully disciplined. He's purpose driven.
Right.
He knows where he's going. Martial arts, multiple martial arts competitions and fights. Walks around knowing that he could beat pretty much any guy's ass.
Build confidence from it too.
Sexual mastery method. Full confidence in that. Full confidence knowing that any girl who he slept with would be lucky that he slept with her instead of thinking, oh, I hope she likes me. I hope I satisfy her. No, you know that. Plus the spiritual side, mastering of your energy, your aura, which is so important.
Right.
I've seen guys who just in 3 months, guys who like not even close to like Chad level, but the difference in their aura between where they start after 3 months is so insane that the difference in reactions they're getting from women is just insane.
Right.
Like even just in a month from getting on the method, they don't look that different, but their energy's so different from getting on the path of self-improvement, and their aura has changed that they get shooting signals. So it just depends on, obviously the guy's base, but any guy who does all those things.
And we get arguably most important is understanding female human nature.
For sure, that's important after the initial hook, right? Everything else is her saying you look pre-selected, you seem pre-selected, your energy, your aura, your confidence, the way you look.
Right.
And then after that, you need to understand female nature so you know how to confirm, yes, this guy actually is. Even if you're not pre-selected, you're showing signs that you are.
Right.
You're able to fake it until you make it.
Exactly.
Because you have to go through that period, like I said, where you're not.
And with the Qigong, like anxiety, guys, is such a massive turn off for women because it shows, oh, why is he anxious around me right now? Oh, probably because he's not used to this, right? He's not used to talking to being in a situation, right? Versus if he's completely calm, that's underlying confidence. In addition, for your looks, right? Maximize your face. If you want to grow a beard, you just have a little bit of stuff you want more. Minoxidil, teeth whiteners, get a haircut that fits your face, get a lean body fat, right? Get tan with melanotan, GHK to make your skin better, get good fashion, right? All these things will take you, and the things Mike mentioned, take you from such a average spot to really standing out against other men, right? And it's not like these things are chores, honestly. It's like you're playing GTA in real life, guys. You're literally upgrading your character day by day.
Honestly, it's easy.
It's easy. It's fun.
Everything we just mentioned is basically the method. And watch the 4-hour masterclass in the description below. It goes over everything we just went over in detail, how to get to this point, and all the 4 pillars of the method. All those things are easy. I've had guys who've been on the method for a while, who I coach, who they go through tough periods of life. Like I had a guy who his dad died randomly, and he kind of ghosted me for a couple weeks because he was just in his feels. He came back. I was like, so you kind of fall off? He's like, no, I've been doing everything. It's so easy. The method's so easy.
Yeah.
It's just a daily routine. Everything went over is a daily routine. It doesn't take that much time. The hard part really is financially.
Yeah.
Getting to an elite level financially, which is why but any guy can, in terms of other aspects of self-improvement, maximize himself. It's not that hard. Just take some time, knowledge of what to do, and consistency. Any guy can get there. So watch the 4-hour masterclass, guys. That's 3 p.m. I'm gonna call.
Yeah, Mike's got a call, so we got to cut it short. And last thing I'll say is just that before you maximize your finances, maximize yourself, maximize your energy, your confidence, your communication, your attraction. This will make it so you can make money way easier versus if you try to fight your way through it without having those things. So
you can do both at the same time, but what you shouldn't do is spend your 20s maximizing your finances, and then later in life, then I'll start to focus on the high level stuff.
That's not the play.
You from the beginning, you prioritize your looks, the method, and then either you do the finance at the same time, or then once you're at the level where Joe or me are at, then you go boom. Now main focus is finances while still doing the method, still getting better.
Right.
But it doesn't take as much effort or discipline.
Right. So guys, we presented the problem and we also presented the solution. So it wasn't just a dark video. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. Of course, if you want to work one-on-one with either me or Mike, we'll put both of our links on there. Hop on a call, talk about your situation, and see if we're a good fit together. Otherwise, subscribe, watch the masterclass. Love you guys. Till next time.